the galaxy's toughest commander returned in silence after witnessing human military training. 3785, the year when the known parts of the universe were ruled by the Zalar Empire that had conquered countless planets, controlled vast galaxies, using their energies to further its technological superiority. Long ago, the Zalars had completed their biological evolution and developed a perfect society, perfect both in physical strength and intelligence. It was an ancient empire that over centuries had made other species acknowledge its greatness. In the galaxy, they knew them under one name only, the Ambassadors of Zalaran. One of the most successful leaders of the Zalar army was Commander Hrek, a strategist who had fought in the toughest battles of the galaxy. It was not just with weapons that Hrek defeated his enemies, but rather sharpness of mind and ruthlessness in making decisions. His name was whispered throughout the galaxy with fear. The man who had conquered hundreds of planets and who led millions to victories, and ultimate living legend of the Zalar Empire. But in recent times, despite commanding the armies of Zalar for so long, a new threat had become the centerpiece of all his attention: Earth. A small, relatively primitive planet in a forgotten nook of the universe, it had been a long-time interest of the Zalar Empire. This planet, which had housed a species known as humans, did not appear to have the same enormous technology or biological superlative quality that the Zalars did. But by that time, rumors had already spread that humans would become a threat to the Empire. Humans belonged to the category of beings from what the galaxy termed as Deathworlders, planets with very dangerous living conditions. These worlds had high gravity, deadly climates, wild predators, and a constantly changing nature that only allowed the strong species to survive. This was the kind of power that Earth had given to humans. Scientists of the Empire said, though humans were weak technologically, their amazing durability, adaptability, and creative intelligence made them stand out. When it finally dawned on the Zalars that Earth was either going to be a very powerful ally or a deadly enemy, they sent along Commander Hrek to investigate the planet and analyze the humans. Initially, Hrek considered this no big deal. After all, the Empire, having defeated innumerable civilizations across the galaxy, shouldn't actually be afraid of anything as small as a Deathworlder species. But during his journey to the planet, there was an uneasiness building inside Hrek. This was no ordinary planet, landing on Earth. As the ship of Hrek cut its way through its atmosphere, he saw the Earth's surface as both strange and menacing. Mountains, oceans, immense forests. This planet was so unlike the cold, mechanistic worlds of the Zalars. The Zalars lived on sterile, technology-dominated worlds where they had all but eliminated biological diversity. But Earth was teeming with life, and every nook seemed to conceal some sort of danger. The contact was arranged on behalf of the United Earth Federation. This entity, keeping a tight rein on the military powers of the planet, had united the various nations into one big coalition, sort of. As the spaceship of Hrek landed at the military base of the United Earth Federation, there was much security thrown around him. Though Earth trailed behind the Zalars in all technological aspects, this planet's military powers were unique in their own way. He emerged from his spaceship in an attire of traditional Zalar armor, a mask of determination plastered on his face. The first thing he encountered was the steady gaze of human soldiers. Lined up with discipline, each soldier tightly clutched primitive weapons that couldn't even compare to the technology of the Zalar. Hrek couldn't help but secretly feel superior. But the determination and fearlessness in the eyes of these soldiers had him ill at ease. First encounter. During his first days on Earth, Hrek had the chance to observe the humans more closely. As a race, it was not advanced in technology, but it was getting a superior advantage in adaptation. The struggle to survive against all conditions was absolutely different from those practices pursued by the rest of the galaxy. This species, struggling against the wild nature of Earth and using their talents in acquiring such conditions, was remarkable with their instincts and strategic intelligence, although they are not improved biologically like the Zalars. As Hrek visited the UEF's military training facilities, the feeling of superiority in his mind slowly turned into curiosity. The training he first saw was similar to classic military discipline: physical endurance, tactical planning, and strategic moves. But as he looked deeper into these trainings, he noticed humans' unique approach to the art of war. While the military doctrine of the Zalar focused on the poles of technology and biological superiority, humans trained themselves to deal with harsh forces of nature. Their warriors did not only defeat their enemies directly, but learned to turn surroundings into weapons and use nature itself against foes. A few human soldiers demonstrated a simulation exercise to show how to fight against stronger and more advanced enemies like the Zalars. In this exercise, they did not use brute force, but instead relied on the environment to show how they could defeat a stronger opponent with a weaker weapon. For humans, intelligence and tactics were what mattered, not the strength of their arms. Hrek was astounded. To the Zalar army, technology was the most important tool of war, and yet these humans had developed a tactic that did not rely on it. Preparing for war. As Hrek spent more time in the military facilities, he felt how highly humans regarded teamwork and solidarity. While individual success and superiority were imperative in the Zalar armies, human beings believe a lot in the concept of battling as a team. Under abstruse conditions, human soldiers were prepared to give their lives for one another. The mutual trust and comradeship made them far stronger compared to any other Zalar soldier. Even more interestingly, humans turned out to be those kinds of players who could change their strategies in quite unexpected moments of a battle, mercilessly using the weak points of their opponents. This was a tactic Hrek wasn't used to. The Zalar army executed wars according to pre-planned strategies, and those plans hardly ever changed. But human tactics were changing at any time and flexible. One day, Hrek was invited to a big military exercise organized by Uyef, where he saw the biggest example of human warfare. In that drill, a few human soldiers found the way to defeat the more advanced enemy army. While watching, he couldn't believe his eyes. Humans fought not with the power of weapons, but with strategic minds. They utilized their weaker sides, environmental conditions, and their enemies' weaknesses to balance things up. The uneasiness inside Hrek grew. All of these observations shook his belief in the invincibility of the Zalar Empire. Humans were unlike any species he had encountered in the galaxy. While being biologically weak, they used their minds and tactical superiority to win. Growing fear. With time, Hrek started learning from his experiences on Earth. The humans had the power to overturn all the strategies of the Zalar Empire, but that power wasn't physical, it was mental. They used their intelligence, agility, and survival instincts in battle to defeat far more advanced enemies. Commander Hrek returned to the Zalar Empire once he finished his observations about Earth. But things would never be as they had been before. Still silent, a great terror was growing in Hrek's inner self. Earth and its inhabitants were far more a threat than he had assumed. The surprising abilities of humanity would come forth to stand in front of the Zalar Empire, and the future of the galaxy might change forever. The fate of humanity and the Zalar Empire. That was only the beginning with the return of Commander Hrek to the Zalar Empire. His ship came out of hyperspace into the orbit of the capital planet, Zalar Prime, and a storm of emotion began churning inside him. He said nothing, locked by some kind of fear he never knew before. Hrek had fought numerous battles and won against the most dangerous species in the galaxy. However, what he witnessed on Earth had left a scar in his mind forever. Zalar Prime, the capital of the Zalar Empire, was cold and mechanical, the complete opposite of the nature of humanity, which was chaotic. Giant metal structures, mathematically calculated roads, faultless technology. Everything worked with millimetric precision and order. This perfection constituted the biggest pride of Zalar society. Nature and biological elements had been left behind millennia ago, totally replaced by technology. The Zalars thought they had reached the peak of evolution. But now, Hrek felt that there was immense fragility underlying this perfect order. The Imperial Council and the truth. Before Hrek could report directly to the Zalar Emperor, he was summoned by the Imperial Council. The Council was a group of the most elevated strategists, scientists, and military leaders from the Zalar Empire. Each member commanded immense power and insight in deciding upon the futures of the Empire. It was a gray hall, whose walls were lined with crystal screens presenting a constant real-time flow of data from the galaxy. Having Hrek standing before the counselors, one felt even more nervous than ever. The room was packed with influential people. They all looked at Hrek with expectancy, awaiting a victory report. "Commander Hrek," said Yara, head of council and senior strategist. Her voice was cool, a testament to the discipline of Zalar. "What information were you able to acquire on your time on Earth?" "Report on the human species." Hrek took a deep breath. As on Earth, everything that crossed his eyes each day, the training of the military he had watched, and how these humans adapted to their surroundings and fought all replayed now in his mind. Humans are a very diverse species, quite unlike any of the other intelligent life we have encountered so far in the galaxy. He began with carefully selected words. "Biologically weak. Yes. In respect to technological development, most definitely not comparable to ours. However, their patterns of waging war and their instincts to survive are highly evolved. Humans fight in ways that no Zalar soldier would imagine. They use their surroundings as a weapon and make use of opportunities that hardly appear advantageous at all." A murmur erupted among the ranks of the council members. Hrek's report had not been at all what they expected from the Zalar Empire. They had thought of humans as one of the more primitive species and thus presented little challenge to their conquest. But with Hrek's words, humanity was much more dangerous than imagined. Strategic discussions and the beginning of chaos. Yara furrowed her brow as she turned to Hrek. "Can this species be that formidable, Commander Hrek, really, to the Zalar Empire? Humans are in arrears compared to us technologically. Would our biological advantage not suffice to defeat them?" Hrek moved his head negatively, very slow. "That's the problem, Yara. Humans don't depend on either technology or biology, but change their war tactics every other time with their brains and environment. I saw their training sessions, and I saw how they outsmart and utilize environmental factors to take down stronger enemies. They're not some ordinary opponent." The council was getting uneasier now. What Hrek was saying was a serious blow to the Empire's war strategies. The belief had been for centuries in the Zalar army that, coupled with advanced technology, biological superiority was the key to success in war, but humanity could potentially overturn this equation completely. The other strategist, Solara, spoke calmly. "Commander, no species has ever been able to stand against the Zalar Empire. How can humans be such a great threat? When we unleash our technology on them, their planet will turn to ashes in minutes." Hrek took a deep breath and turned to Solara. "Humans don't depend on technology. They can turn chaos to their advantage. Even amidst battle, they are flexible enough to change strategies. Making light of them will be a big mistake." The room fell silent at that moment. Other council members looked at Hrek with doubting eyes, barely able to digest how easily such overwhelming power was being put into question by him. However, Hrek knew exactly what he had seen on Earth. The humans differed from the rest of the species of the galaxy. The Emperor's decision. A few days after the council, a conference was held in the palace of the Zalar Emperor. The Emperor Malker was the supreme authority in the Zalar Empire and known to be one who ruled the entire galaxy. His decision for the future of the Empire was what Hrek was going to discover. When he came into the conference room, Emperor Malker was seated on a large chair similar to a throne. The Emperor's cold, piercing stare was fixed on Hrek. "Commander Hrek," the Emperor started with an authoritative echo in his voice. "Your council has presented me with some interesting reports about humanity, but I want to know if this species is truly a threat. Can humans really endanger the future of the Zalar Empire?" Hrek lowered his head slightly and spoke in a serious tone to the Emperor. "Your Majesty, in all matters relating to technology, humans are far from our pace. But in the aspects of intelligence, adaptability, and wartime strategies, they stand exceptional. If we launch an attack, they will strike back in ways nobody expects. And that might just prove to be catastrophic for our empire." Emperor Malker said nothing more after that as he observed Hrek in silence for quite a long period of time before he nodded slowly. "If humans are so dangerous, then we must know of their capability and restrain this menace. Instead of an attack on Earth, We will continue our observation. However, his tone became gruff. Should humanity be the real threat, then they shall taste the power of the Zalar Empire. Hrek assented to this decision. What he had seen on Earth was not easily forgettable, but the Emperor's strategic response had created the guarantee that a direct war would not occur. The Observer program starts. Consequently, the Zalar Empire initiated an Observer program based on Hrek's reports. On Earth, humanity was to be observed in secrecy, their war tactics, social dynamics, and technological advances studied. Predictably, it was kept from human awareness. With the technology the Zalar were in possession of, it was possible to see every corner of the Earth without detection. Months after the Observer program had started, Hrek looked at the data and was constantly amazed by something different he picked up about humans. Amidst all the wars of Earth, revolutions, and social chaos, humans were in a constant state of evolution. Not just their bodies, but also their minds were being stretched, and they came up with new ideas. The most astonishing thing, above all, was their unbreakable hope, the survival instinct, setting them apart from all other species in the galaxy under the hardest conditions. For every problem, technology could solve it, so the Zalars believed, while humans resisted with hope against the most chaotic and ruthless conditions of nature. These observations drove home to Hrek a truth that their victory against humanity would be way more difficult than he had ever thought. Humans were not an ordinary enemy. They were one of the most complex fighters in the galaxy. Fear inside the Zalar Empire. The Imperial Council grew more cautious after new reports that Hrek made. This rare occurrence in nature, which was humanity, slowly began to unsettle them for the Empire. The Zalar Empire had never confronted this mind game with any other species of this galaxy. Humans had the capability to change the technological and biological advantage of the Empire. The silence from Commander Hrek only elevated after his observations on Earth. The more he learned about humans, the more he was surprised and unsettled. If this species were to be faced by the Empire, then it might be in for a few rude shocks. At one point in his musings, a thought crossed Hrek's mind. What if humans really bring about our end